I'm Terry Listall, a Microsoft board member and the EVP and CFO of Gap.
Whenever I'm asked about my career, I always have to stop first, pause, and realize I've been at this for more than 30 years. So I started out like many accounting undergrads. I went into public accounting once I graduated from college. I was lucky to be in a small office of Deloitte where we had some very large clients, but also had a small enough staff that I could do a variety of things. So I worked on General Motors, I worked on Dow Chemical, but I also worked in the tax pool. So I did both audit and tax. And I was quite happy with my career. I was moving along, and then there was a pivotal moment when the partner that I was working for called me into his office and he said, Terry, you have the opportunity to go into this management development program and compete with the best and the brightest in the firm. My initial reaction, beyond fear, was a sense that I wouldn't be able to compete. And he looked at me and he said, Terry, it doesn't seem like you're confident in yourself. And I had to admit I wasn't. And that was when he gave me one of the first important pieces of advice in my career, and that was, if you're not confident in yourself, then how can you expect anyone else to be confident in you? And that was really important to me. So off I went to New York and dramatically changed the trajectory of my career because I opened up many new horizons, both geographically and professionally. One of my contacts reached out to me out of the blue and offered me the opportunity to talk to Procter & Gamble. Procter very rarely would hire at advanced levels from outside, so it was a unique experience. And I went and talked to them, and I fell in love with consumer products, with consumer businesses, and took another pretty dramatic change in career as I moved from controllership kinds of activities ultimately into line finance and then on to CFO roles. So it was important to me to have someone believe in me and be candid and say, be courageous, be willing to take a different path.
So the board at Microsoft is very diverse. We have the combination of deep technology skills, broad business skills, global perspective, and of course, for people like me, more of a finance orientation to handle some of the unique responsibilities of the audit committee. So I think one of the things that's really unique about the board is as we've continued to grow, and we are all very respectful of the unique backgrounds and experiences that we bring to the board conversations. So obviously, what I try to do is leverage the unique skills and experiences I have from a finance mindset, from a consumer products background, and try to engage most thoroughly in the places where my experience really matters. Obviously, we are all engaged on every topic, and we feel free to express our views, whether it's on technology or the budget. But we do, I think, have a high degree of respect for the different experiences that people bring. And so I think we work really well together, and the fact that we have come together over this really transformative time in Microsoft's history, I think puts us in a good position to continue to build the complementary skills we bring and put those to best use for the Microsoft company. People might wonder what it's like to be at a Microsoft board meeting. And I have to tell you, the meetings are really quite intense. The meetings usually start the first day with committee meetings. And we typically close out that day with a dinner with Satya. It's board only with Satya, and we have the opportunity then to talk candidly about what's on his mind. And it's a really good forum for the board to get ready for the formal conversations the next day. During the actual board meeting, we're very engaged with the senior leadership team. We start early, we go long, and it's very, very full. So you have to keep in mind that only about 30% of a board member's time is actually in the actual meetings. There's a lot of time required outside the meetings to prepare for and then be current on the business of Microsoft. And while it is a big time commitment, I have to tell you, it's incredibly rewarding. It helps me very much to do my own job because technology in particular is foundational to almost every business today. And so the time is well worth it. There's been a lot of talk about culture change at Microsoft, and people may ask, what is the board's role in driving that culture change? Fundamentally, culture starts with not just leadership words, but leadership actions. And Satya and his entire leadership team have been very clear and consistent on what they expect in terms of culture at Microsoft. And we've seen a dramatic transformation in the very short time that this has been on the agenda. The board's role in this is, number one, to reinforce the appropriateness of the culture. And then to make sure we're looking at the enforcing mechanisms that exist. And whether this is how we talk about the business, how we set goals, and importantly, how we assess talent. And the board is very engaged in how culture fits into this. And frankly, as you look at how much change has already been accomplished in this area, we're pretty proud of what Satya and his team have been able to do in transforming the culture to support the strategies of Microsoft going forward. So as a board member, there's always a question of how do you balance short-term and long-term, and how do you focus on sustainable growth and the risks that may exist with respect to that? And it's a really good question, because it is hard when you have an industry that's changing as fast as ours, and you have a lot of day-to-day things that you need to deal with. But one of the things that we as a board do is make sure we're spending enough time thinking about, for example, the activities of Microsoft Research, really looking forward into the investments we're making. We spend time as a board thinking about things like quantum computing and what that's going to look like and what the bets should be that Microsoft should take in areas like that. And so I think that combination of how do we think about capital allocation for near-term challenges as well as long-term breakthroughs are what is really required. And it is really just a question of discipline. How do you allocate your time? How do you make sure you're thinking about the risks that are present today? A great example of where this manifests itself is when we think about acquisitions. Acquisitions require a long view. They need to be thoughtful about what are the capabilities they bring that can be transformative to us. And we've done that. We did that with LinkedIn, the recent GitHub acquisition. These are places where we step back and say, what is the fundamental strategy? What are the capabilities we need to win? And what are the bets we need to make to be able to address the risks that could prevent us from achieving our objectives? In my role at Gap, one of the areas I have responsibility for is technology. And obviously, there's such a nice synergy between the work that I do there and the work on the Microsoft board. I think it benefits both of us, actually. I bring a lot of the knowledge I gained from the Microsoft board meeting into some of the decisions we make. Technology is critical to the future success of retail. It's an industry that really is in transformation, and the digital transformation part of that is going to be critical to determine who the winners are and who the losers are in retail. And conversely, I think I can bring some of my Gap experience to bear on some of the issues at Microsoft. Obviously, a strong consumer orientation, experience as a user, experience as a buyer of services. These three things, I think, really bring unique insights that I can put to play at some of the issues that we have at Microsoft. I've been characterized as approaching my job with a broader mindset than just finance, and that's true. I have to tell you, the fun for me is not the finance part of it. I think of the finance part of it as incredibly important and is what we need to do every day with quality and excellence. But the real fun of it is, how are we bringing the business forward? How are we creating value for our shareholders? And so the opportunity to think about strategy, or how to improve our operations, or how to develop the talent for the future, that's where the fun is. As an independent director of Microsoft, I feel privileged to be part of the journey that we're on. I have incredible confidence in the board, in Satya, in the management team, to be able to execute on the vision we have for this company and to be able to continue to provide sustainable value creation for our shareholders. It's a really exciting time for Microsoft, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.